Jake Martin floated above Saturn in his small repair ship. He was a space technician, working for Earth's deep space communication system. Alone, tired and bored, he fixed antennas and cleaned satellite dishes. It was not a heroic job, but it paid well, and he liked the quiet. As Jake typed reports into his console, a strange signal flashed on his screen. Invitation accepted. Teleportation in 10 seconds. What the? Before he could hit cancel, a beam of red light surrounded. His body, the stars, vanished. His ship disappeared. The air turned cold. When the light faded, Jake was no longer floating in space. He was standing in the middle of a giant glowing hall. The floor was black glass. The walls were carved from purple stone. Giant candles floated in the air, lighting. The hall was soft fire. Strange music echoed all around, low, deep, and haunting. Hundreds of tall alien creatures stood in rows. They wore long robes, with silver armor underneath. Their eyes glowed red. Their skin was pale like moonlight. Jake's heart froze. "Oh no," he whispered. "I'm in a vampire castle." Suddenly, the music stopped. Everyone turned to look at him. Their glowing eyes widened. "Who is this outsider?" Someone growled. "He is not on the guest list," hissed another. A large figure stepped forward. His robe was black with gold symbols. He wore a crown made of sharp bones. "I am Elder Morvain," the figure said. "This human entered the sacred chamber uninvited." Jake held up his hands. Wait. It was a mistake. I thought it was a system signal. It didn't mean to crash your rum meeting." Elder Morvain said darkly. "This is a wedding," Rovain said darkly. "This is a wedding." Blinked. "A what?" Then he noticed the two figures standing at the front. One was a handsome vampire prince, dressed in crimson. The other was a tall, beautiful woman with silver hair and violet eyes. Her long dress sparkled like the night sky. The bride, and she, was not happy. The groom growled. "Who is this human? Why is he staring at my bride?" Jake quickly looked away. "I'm not, I swear. I didn't know this was a wedding. Please, just send me back." The bride raised her hand. "Wait." Everyone stopped. She stepped forward and looked at Jake closely. Her eyes studied him from head to toe. "What is your name, human?" Jake. "Jake Martin, from Earth." "You came through the beam of bloodlight," she said softly. "We appeared during the binding chant. That means he is the one." Jake frowned. "The one what?" The bride turned to the crowd. "The prophecy speaks of a stranger who walks in uninvited during the eclipse wedding, a soul with fire in his heart, being not of blood, but of spirit." The crowd gasped. Elder Morvain narrowed his eyes. "The prophecy is ancient, forgotten. It cannot be real." The bride smiled. "And yet here he is." The groom shouted, "This is madness. He is a human, a weak mortal creature." The bride stepped away from her groom and walked toward Jake. "I am Princess Valara of Noctarian, daughter of Queen Zalira, heir to the Night Throne." She placed her cold hand on Jake's chest. "And I choose you as my blood-bonded partner." Jake's jaw dropped. "Wait, what?" A royal mistake. The wedding was paused. Angry voices echoed across the hall. Elders argued. The groom threw a glass of black wine at the wall and stormed. Out Jake was taken to a side chamber with floating candles and a long crystal table. Several vampire nobles stared at him like he was a rare animal. Elder Morvain walked in. "You have caused chaos, human." Jake crossed his arms. "It's not my fault, I just opened a weird signal." Morvain nodded. "You were brought here by accident. But now you are bound by ancient law. You must undergo the bonding path." Jake stood up. "I don't want to marry an alien vampire. I just fix satellites." Valara entered the room. Her steps were silent, her presence calm. "You fear me," she said. Jake looked at her. "I mean, yes, you drink blood, you live in castles, you speak in riddles." She laughed softly. "Not all vampires are monsters. My people feed on life energy, yes, but we do not kill. We are protectors of lost planets, shadows of old galaxies. We survive in silence, but war is coming. Jake frowned. War. Valara sat beside him. The galaxy is changing. Human colonies grow stronger. Alien empires fear you. To me, my marriage was meant to bring peace between old and new bloodlines. But it was fake, a forced union. Jake stared at her. So you used me to stop your arranged marriage? I did not plan this. But the prophecy gave me a path to choose my own future. I chose you. Jake sighed. Well, thanks, I think. She looked at him seriously. You are not trapped. You may leave. But if you stay, you must prove yourself through the trials. Jake asked, what happens if I win the trials? You will be my equal, not just in marriage, in power. Jake thought for a moment, and if I lose, you will be returned to Earth, your memories erased. He stared at the glowing wall, thinking about his boring ship, his lonely job, and his quiet life. All right, he said at last, let's do the trials. Valara smiled. Good, the first trial begins tomorrow. Jake Martin stood on a floating platform, staring at the sky of Noctarian. The sky wasn't blue. It was dark purple, glowing with tiny stars even during the day. 2 moons hung above him, one red, one silver. The wind smelled like sweet metal, and the air was cold like ice water. Behind him stood Princess Valara. In front of him, a large stone arena waited. Around it were floating chairs where vampire nobles, elders, and warriors sat. Some looked curious, some looked angry. Many just looked bored. A loud bell rang. Elder Morvain floated into the center of the arena, his black robes moving without wind. Let the trial of blood, and we'll begin. Jake took a deep breath. What's the first challenge again? Valara stepped closer. You must survive the beast of the Ashen Caves. Jake raised an eyebrow. Beast. From the center of the arena, the ground cracked open. Smoke poured out. A large black cage rose, shaking violently. Inside it, something growled a deep, hungry sound. Jake's heart dropped. The gate opened. Out stepped a giant creature, 10 feet tall, covered in armored gray scales. Its eyes burned orange. It had 6 legs, 2 tails, and a mouthful of knives. Jake whispered, that's not a beast. That's a nightmare, Valara said softly. It feeds on fear. Do not show it weakness. Jake had no sword, no armor. A small metal rod on his belt, a standard repair tool. The beast roared and charged. The first trial, Jake dodged left, barely avoiding the beast's claws. He rolled on the floor and grabbed a broken crystal from the ground. The crowd laughed. Is this a joke? Shouted a noble. Humans are too soft. Let him be eaten, said another. The beast turned and rushed again. Jake jumped up and swung the rod into its face. It sparked, making the creature stumble for a second. But it wasn't enough. Valara stood and shouted, use your mind, not just your hands. Jake saw glowing lines on the ground, energy cables. He dashed forward, grabbed 2 wires, and jammed them into the rod. The rod sparked brighter. As the beast came again, Jake shouted, hey, ugly, and slammed the charged rod into its chest. Boom. A wave of blue light exploded. The beast flew back, unconscious. Silence then. Clapping slow, respectful clapping. Valara smiled. Elder Morvain raised his hand. The human has passed the first trial. Jake fell on the floor, breathing hard. I want a sandwich and a nap. A talk under starlight later that night. Jake sat on a balcony with Valara. Stars moved slowly across the sky. He held a cup of warm red liquid, not blood. She promised. Just a fruit drink from their moon trees. You did well, Valara said softly. I didn't die, Jake answered. That's my standard for success. Valara laughed gently. You were brave and funny. Strange for a human. Jake looked at her. See. So, are you really okay with this whole marriage thing? She looked at the stars. My people don't believe in love. They believe in power, duty, and bloodlines. I always thought there was more. You prove that. Jake smiled. And you're not so scary for a vampire. She turned her head. Would you let me show you a secret? Jake hesitated, then nodded. Valara touched his hand and closed her eyes. A soft light passed between them. Suddenly Jake saw images. In his mind, Valara as a child, training with blades, crying alone in the palace, watching the stars in silence. It ended. Jake opened his eyes. You shared your memories, Valara. Look tired, is the Noctari way of trust. Now you know me. Jake nodded. Then tomorrow, I'll show you Earth's pizza. She tilted her head. Is that a weapon? He laughed. No, it's better. Meanwhile, in the shadows, in a dark chamber deep under the palace, a figure knelt beside a glowing orb. It was Prince Kale, the angry groom who had been left at the altar. She chose a human, he hissed. Over me, from the orb, a voice replied, You must remove him. Quietly, Kale stood. I want him to suffer. I want Valara to regret this choice, the voice said. Then wait. Let the trials finish. He will become weak. That's when you strike. Kale's eyes glowed red. Soon, the blood moon will rise, and Earth will burn. The second trial the next day, Jake woke up and stretched. His muscles hurt. His legs felt like jelly. But he was ready. Valara met him at the training grounds. Today's trial is different. Is the trial of unity? Jake looked confused. Sounds peaceful. She shook her head. You must guide 3 vampire children through the maze of mirrors. If even one is lost, you fail. 3 small vampire children stood near her, serious and silent. Jake knelt. Hey, kids. I'm Jake. Don't worry, we'll be fine. They just blinked at him. The maze gate opened. Fog poured out. Here we go, Jake whispered. Inside the maze. Walls of silver glass showed fake images, illusions, traps. At every turn, Jake saw pictures of Earth, his parents, even his old dog. Don't follow the fake paths, he warned. The kids suddenly, one child screamed. A wall turned into fire. Another child ran ahead. Jake chased after them, calling their names. The illusions grew stronger. He saw Valara dying, Earth in flames, himself drowning in space. No quotes. No, it isn't real. He grabbed the last 2 kids and ran toward a dim light. Then he found the third child, hiding behind a wall, crying. Jake picked him up. I got you. We're all going home. They burst out of the maze together. The crowd cheered. Valara looked. Proud. You passed. Jake said, Kids are scarier than monsters. The princess's gift that night, Valara gave Jake a gift, a small, glowing pendant shaped like a moon. It's a soul charm, she said. It protects your mind from lies. Jake touched it, thanks. I'll need it. You did more than survive, she said. You cared. My people saw that. Jake looked into her eyes. You're not just a princess, you're a fighter, a dreamer. Valara stepped closer. And you are more than a mistake. You are my choice. Before he could speak, a sound echoed in the sky. A deep horn, Valara's. Smile vanished. The third trial comes at midnight, she said. The trial of shadows. Jake groaned. Of course it does. The sky of Noctarian turned red. A full blood moon rose above the twin mountains. The wind grew sharp and cold. The palace walls trembled with energy. This night was different. It was the night of the trial of shadows. Jake stood at the gate of a black stone temple, known as the Tomb of Whispers. It was carved into the side of a mountain, with strange markings and floating skull lanterns on both sides. The air smelled like old fire and ashdot. Princess Valara stood beside him. Her face was serious, Jake, she said softly. This is the final trial. You pass it, you will complete the bonding path. You will become one of us. Not a full Noctari, but something in between. Something new. Jake looked into her violet eyes. What if I fail? Then the bond will be broken. Hey, your memory of me will be wiped. and you will be sent back to Earth. Forever. Jake swallowed hard. I'll do it, he said. Inside the tomb, the temple doors creaked open by themselves. Darkness poured out like smoke. Jake stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind him. The silence was deep, heavy. Even the sound of his breathing felt loud inside the tomb. Red crystals floated in the air. Their glow showed carvings on the walls, pictures of old battles, fallen kings, and strange winged beasts. A voice echoed from the dark. Who dares walk the path of the blood bond? Jake stood tall. Jake Martin of Earth. Technician. Unlucky guest. Possible future husband. A low chuckle. Then prove you are worthy. Face your fear. Suddenly, the crystals dimmed. A door appeared on the far wall. Jake walked through it. Trial 1. The Mirror of Regret. Jake found himself in a round room with mirrors on every wall. As he stepped forward, each mirror showed a version of himself. One was old and tired. Alone on Earth. One was rich and powerful, but cold and heartless. One was dead floating in space. One was with Valara. Happy, glowing with love. Jake stared. At the last mirror, is this real? A voice whispered. It could be. Then all the mirrors shattered. Sharp glass flew at him. But a shield of light formed around his chest. Valara's moon-shaped charm protected him. Jake shouted, My choice is mine. I'm not afraid of what could have been. The glass stopped. The next door opened. Trial 2. The shadows of the lost. The second room was filled with fog. Shapes moved inside it. Suddenly, Jake saw his mother step out of the fog. Jake, she said. Why did you leave Earth? Why didn't you come home? Came his best friend Dave. You just disappeared, man. We thought you died. Jake shook his head. You're not real. You're just ghosts. But they kept walking toward him. Stay with us, Jake, they said. Forget the vampires. Forget Valara. Come back. Jake stepped back, unsure. Then he remembered Valara's touch. Her words, her laughter. No, he said. I have people here now. I won't run away. The fog screamed and vanished. He passed the second trial. Meanwhile, Hal's planned far. From the tomb, Prince Kale stood aboard a black starship. His face was twisted with rage. Round him were soldiers in dark armor. He pointed at a glowing map. Earth has many colonies. Mars is weak. Hit them first. A vampire general asked, Is this about war or revenge? Kale smiled coldly. Both. If I can't have Valara, no one will. They prepared their fleet. Weapons charged. Engines glowed. The attack on Mars Colony 1 would begin soon. Trial 3. The heart of fire. Jake stepped into the final chamber. A giant pit of lava boiled in the center. A narrow bridge of stone led across it. At the far side was a small glowing altar. On it sat a crystal dagger. He heard the voice again. To complete the bond, you must spill a drop of your blood on the altar. Will you give part of yourself for another? Jake stared at the lava. No tricks.
The lava is
real. The pain is real, but so is the reward. Jake slowly walked across the bridge. The heat burned his skin. His clothes began to smoke. He reached the altar, picked up the dagger, cut his palm. Red blood fell onto the stone. The altar glowed bright white. The room shook. A beam of energy blasted upward and surrounded Jake. Suddenly he could see everything. The stars, the planets, the emotions of others. The future. He saw Valara crying in secret. He saw Kale's fleet rising into the sky. He saw Earth in danger. Then it all vanished. Jake stood alone. But something had changed. He wasn't fully human anymore. The new bond. The temple doors opened. Jake stepped out. His eyes had a faint golden glow. His skin shimmered under the moons. He didn't feel tired anymore. The crowd was waiting outside. Elder Morvain nodded. He has passed. The bond is complete. Valara walked toward him. Her voice shook. Jake. He smiled. Hey, princess. She touched his hand. You are glowing. Jake joked. I think I might be part flashlight now. The crowd laughed. Even the coldest elders smiled. Valara held up his hand. This man is not a guest anymore. He is Noctari. He is my chosen. The people cheered. For the first time, Jake felt like he truly belonged. A sudden message as the celebration began. A vampire soldier ran forward. Urgent message from Mars colony. We're under attack. The music stopped. Jake's smile faded. Who's attacking? The soldier looked nervous. A fleet of rogue Noctari ships, led by Prince Kale. Valara's face turned hard. Kale has broken the law, Jake said. He wants war. Ilara looked at Jake. Then let's give him peace. Our way. Jake nodded. We stop him together. The palace on Noctarian was no longer filled with music and celebration. Instead, it echoed with footsteps, orders, and battle plans. Soldiers in black and silver armor rushed across the halls. Lights blinked on screens, and ships flew out from docking towers. Jake Martin stood beside Princess Valara in the war room, staring at the map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the path of Prince Kale's rebel fleet. One red dot blinked over Mars Colony 1. Jake pointed at it. That's where they'll hit first. Mars doesn't have strong weapons. It's mostly workers and scientists. Valara nodded. Kale is clever. He knows Earth will panic if Mars falls. Elder Morvain spoke, his voice deep. We cannot let the humans see Noctari as enemies. This is not just war, it's a test of trust. Valara looked at Jake. You said your people are brave. Will they fight beside us? Jake smiled. If we show up with help, they'll stand with us. She reached out and touched his hand. Then we go. Together. The Obsidian Starship. 2 hours later, Jake stood inside the Obsidian Starship, one of the most powerful vessels in the Noctari fleet. It looked like a black dagger flying through space. Its wings were sharp, and its engines glowed blue like fire. Crew was mixed some vampire warriors, some humans from Earth who had been living in secret colonies. It was the first united team between two species. Jake wore light armor given by Valara, was strong, flexible, and dark with silver lines. His new eyes, now golden from the bonding, could see. Enemy ships before radar picked them up. Valara stood in her full royal battle gear. Her armor had a cape that shimmered like a starfield. She held a plasma blade shaped like a crescent moon. Jake looked at her and said, You look amazing, like a space queen. She smiled. You look like someone I would follow into battle. Grinned. Good. Because here we go. The ship jumped into warp. Mars. Endanger Mars Colony 1 floated above the red planet, connected to the ground by giant towers and fuel lines. Inside, families ran for shelter as alarms blared. Kale's rebel ships appeared in the sky, black and red, shaped like bats. They started firing plasma shots at the colony's defense towers. Kale stood on his flagship, watching the destruction. His eyes burned with hate. This is only the beginning, he whispered. When Earth falls, Valara will come back to me. A soldier stepped forward. Sir, a new ship has entered orbit. It's the Obsidian Starship. Kale's smile disappeared. First battle, Jake and Valara flew into the fight. Target the biggest rebel ship first, Jake said. We cut the head off the snake. Agreed, Valara replied. I'll lead the Shadow Wings. You command the defense line? Me? Jake asked. You are one of us now. You lead. Jake nodded. Let's save Mars. The battle began. Laser beams flashed across the sky. Ships exploded like fireworks. Human pilots joined the fight from Mars Colony, flying old, fast fighters. Jake's voice came through the radio. Hold the line. Protect the tower. Push forward. He wasn't just a technician anymore. He was a commander, boarding the Enema Valara's. Ship landed on Kale's flagship during a break-in fire. She and her best warriors stormed inside. Kale waited with his dark guards. Ah, sister, he said. Come to beg for mercy? Valara held her blade high. No, I came to end this. Fought blades clashing, energy flying. Kale was strong, fast, angry. But Valara was smarter, calmer. She cut through his guard, dodged his strike, and stabbed her blade into his shoulder. You lost the moment you betrayed peace, she said, but Kale laughed. You think this is over? He asked. I sent a second. Fleet to Earth. Valara's eyes widened. He hit a red button. His ship exploded. Escape and aftermath. Jake saw the explosion from his window. No, he shouted. But seconds later, a pod flew out of the blast, landed on their ship. Valara stepped out, hurt but alive. Jake ran to her, catching her before she fell. You're safe, he said, holding her close. I stopped him, but Earth is next, she whispered. Jake looked at the map. A red signal flashed near Earth's. Moon? Then we don't rest. We stopped that fleet too. Elder Morvain nodded. You are ready. Jake said, Let's show Kale's army what happens when humans and vampires fight together. The proposal after the battle, Mars colony threw. A small celebration. Fires were out. People were safe. Humans and vampires shared food, stories, and even a few jokes. Jake and Valara sat on a rooftop. Watching Mars' red sun rise, Valara held his hand. You were brave today, she said. Jake smiled. You were brilliant. Looked into his eyes. You could leave now. Go back to Earth. You've earned it. He shook his head. Why would I leave the best part of my life? Valara tilted her head. Even if that life is strange, dangerous, half in shadow? Jake nodded. Even then, she reached into her cloak and pulled out a silver ring, shaped like a crescent moon. Then, Jake Martin of Earth, she said, her voice soft but proud, will you marry Moonder, the stars of both our worlds? Jake laughed. I came here by accident, but I say yes, by choice. They kissed under the sky of Mars, where two species had just fought side by side, a new threat but deep in space. Far beyond Earth's moon, the second rebel fleet moved silently, not led by Kayla but by something else, something ancient, something even the Noctari feared. Inside the lead ship, a voice whispered in the dark, let the wedding happen. Let them celebrate. Then we strike. A month had passed since the Battle of Mars. Humans and vampires were no longer enemies. People from Earth and Noctarian started working together. New ships were built. New colonies opened. Fear turned into friendship, and in the heart of Noctarian, the great Bloodstone Palace was glowing with joy. For today was a wedding between a human and a vampire princess. The day of the wedding, Jake Martin stood in front of a tall mirror, trying to adjust his dark royal robe. It shimmered with silver threads and had a long cape that kept getting caught on his boots. This thing is way too fancy, he muttered. Behind him, two vampire servants tried not to laugh. He sighed. I used to fix wires and polish satellites. Now I'm about to marry an alien princess in front of 10,000 people. Just then, Elder Morvain walked in. You wear it well, the old vampire, said Jake, smiled. Thanks. Still feels strange. Morvain nodded. You were a stranger. Once. Now you're part of two worlds. Jake took a deep breath. I hope I don't mess up the ceremony, Morvain chuckled. As long as you don't faint, we'll call it a success. Valara's moment in another chamber. Princess Valara stood. In front of a glowing water mirror, her dress flowed like midnight stars. Her silver hair was tied with black crystal threads. Her eyes sparkled, not with power, but with hope. She looked at herself. Today I marry a human, she whispered, and start a new future. Her handmaiden smiled. Your mother would be proud, Valara nodded. And Kale, he would hate it. They both laughed quietly. Then a bell rang slow and deep. The wedding was about to begin. The ceremony begins. The palace's sky roof opened, revealing the twin moons. The red moon and the silver moon crossed paths, forming a full eclipse. That was the chosen time. When light and shadow became one, thousands of guests filled the crystal stands. Humans, Noctari, and other alien ambassadors watched with curious eyes. Floating petals filled the air. Strange soft music played half like Earth's violin, half like singing stars. Jake walked to the center platform. Then Valara entered, surrounded by soft glowing mist. She walked toward Jake, her eyes only on him. The crowd stood. Elder Morvain raised his arms. 2 hearts, 2 races, 1 bond. Jake and Valara took each other's hands. "Do you accept the life of the other?" Morvain asked. "I do," Jake said. "I do," Valara said. The elder raised a glowing blade and made a small cut on each of their palms. Their blood dripped into a floating crystal bowl and swirled together. Red and human, the crystal turned, pure white. The bond was complete. The wedding was perfect until the sky cracked. The final. A loud boom shook the palace. Everyone looked. Up. A giant ship broke through the clouds. It was black, spiked, and shaped like a spider. Its engines spat green fire. People screamed. From the ship, a voice echoed through the air. "You unite shadow and light, but I am the darkness between stars." Jake grabbed Valara's hand. "Who is that?" Valara's face turned pale. "Not Kale. This is older." Elder Morvain whispered, "It's the Voidkin. Creatures of ancient dark. They were sealed thousands of years ago. How did one return?" The ship opened. Strange shadow monsters poured out, creatures with no eyes, long arms and glowing mouths. The guards raised their weapons.
Vampires.
And humans stood shoulder to shoulder. Jake shouted, "Get the people to safety. Valara, stay behind me." But Valara stepped forward. "No, we fight together." Battle in the sky. The palace became a battlefield. Guards fought with swords and blasters. Shadow creatures screamed and attacked with black claws. Energy shields protected the guests, but many were still in danger. Jake pulled out his plasma dagger and blocked an attack. Valara used her moonblade, cutting through shadows with light. Jake saw a group of kids trapped under falling stones. He ran, lifted the heavy rock, and pulled them free. One child, a small vampire girl, hugged him and said, "Thank you, Prince Jake." He blinked. Prince Valara laughed. "It fits you now," but the joy didn't last. The main shadow. Creature tall, with a flaming skull, floated above them. "Your bond is a lie. You are nothing but dust in dreams." Jake shouted back, "Maybe, but dreams can fight back?" He charged, jumping onto the creature's back and stabbing his dagger into its chest. Valara joined, sending a wave of energy from her blade. Together, they pushed the creature into the floating crystal altar. Jake shouted, "Now." Valara held the wedding crystal, the one with their joined blood, and slammed it into the shadows. The creature screamed. Light exploded. Aftermath. Palace was quiet. The shadows were gone. The sky was clear. People slowly stood up, cheering, crying, clapping. Humans and vampires hugged each other. Even Elder Morvain smiled for the first time in a century. Jake sat on the stairs, covered in dust. Valara sat beside him. He looked at her and said, "Well, it's one way to celebrate a wedding." She laughed. "Do you regret it?" "Not a second of it." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Neither do I." A new beginning. Weeks later, peace spread across the galaxy. The bond between humans and Noctari became strong. Trade, technology, and friendship flowed between worlds. Jake and Valara became not just rulers but symbols of hope. They traveled too. Earth, walked on Mars, and even opened a school for both species. One day, a child asked Jake, "How did you meet the princess?" Jake smiled and said, "I accidentally crashed her wedding." The kid gasped, "And she still married you?" Jake nodded. Sometimes accidents bring the best adventures. Final scene at night, under a sky full of stars, Jake and Valara stood. On their balcony, the silver moon shined on their faces. Valara whispered, "What shall we do next, husband?" Jake smiled. "Whatever we want, together." And the stars above whispered back, in approval.